Macronutrients are another really key concept at the core of nutrition. Even though we're not doing an if it fits your macro style nutrition plan, because that leaves a lot to be desired, it's still important to understand how macronutrients have a role to play in your nutrition. Macronutrient just means large nutrient. Protein, fats, and carbohydrates are all large molecules and provide our calorie intake. It's important to understand the different roles of each of these and what they do in the body and what effect they have on body composition, because different macronutrients will support different roles within the body. As already mentioned, we have protein, fats, and carbohydrates. And as you may not realize, we also have alcohol as a macronutrient. The reason being that by definition, macronutrients provide energy, remembering that means calories, to us. So alcohol's a funny one because it does provide calories, but it doesn't provide nutrients. Protein, fat, and carbs are the key and the essential. Alcohol is obviously not essential. Protein has 4 calories per gram. So do carbohydrates. Fats have 9 calories per gram. So you can see they're all different, and depending on what proportion your diet is made up for, that will affect your calorie intake. Protein is essential for muscle growth and muscle repair. So if one of your main goals is to improve your physique or support your training or support your recovery from the gym, protein is key. It's also important to note that if we eat too much protein, our bodies can break down the protein molecules and use them towards energy production or towards fat storage. Whereas if we don't eat enough protein, we can't turn carbohydrates and fat into protein, and they can't do the roles that protein does. So protein really is essential. It's also essential for your immune system, signaling proteins, keeping you full, digestive enzymes, and also stopping you from overeating. I've listed here from most pure source to least pure source. Lean meat, poultry, red meat, fish all have the highest proportion of protein in them, and this gets less as the list goes down. For example, tofu, tempeh, and corn are all really good sources of soy protein for vegetarians. However, they do have more carbohydrate and fat component than what would be present in seafood or lean meat, hence why those things are at the top. They're a higher quality thing that I recommend that you eat from. Low-fat dairy can also contain a good portion of protein, especially low-fat, high-protein yogurts. Beans, legumes, nuts, and grains all contain some protein, but contain a lot more carbohydrate and fat than protein. So you can see all protein sources are not created equal. Fat is essential for hormone production, cell membranes, skin health, keeping you full, and slowing stomach emptying. Back in the day, when people realized that fat had more than double the calories of protein and carbohydrate, they suggested that low-fat diets were the key to fat loss, forgetting the important things that fat does and the fact that it actually slows your stomach emptying and keeps you full too. So if you don't have enough fat in your meal, or you don't have enough fat in your day, your hormones suffer and you don't get as full or as satisfied from food than if you included fat. So our bodies are really clever at regulating the different types of food and the different proportions of food that you do take in a meal. Including things that have really high proportions of omega-3s are really good for your brain and your heart health, including foods like salmon or fatty fish or walnuts or the other nuts listed here have a really beneficial effect on your overall health, not just on your body composition. Carbohydrates predominantly are used for energy in the body. They're our body, our brain, and our muscles' preferred energy source because our bodies can break them down and feed them into that Krebs cycle that I mentioned before when we spoke about calories. Sugar and fiber are also both carbohydrates, even though people like to talk about them like they're something separate. People always recommend having a low sugar food or a high fiber food, forgetting that sugar and fiber are both types of carbohydrate. All carbohydrate is broken down into simple sugars. Complex carbohydrates are longer chains of simple sugars and they're harder to break down. Hence, they keep us fuller for a bit longer and they're better for us. Carbohydrate. Fruit and veggies predominantly should be in your diet every single day. Dairy naturally has lactose in it. Legumes and lentils are a really good source of fiber, which is great for our digestion and great for our health overall as well. And use the motto, brown is best when you pick your grains, because that will lead you to whole grain and slower digesting sources that are slightly higher in fiber. Because fiber is a type of carbohydrate, you would think that it has 4 calories per gram. Our bodies, however, can't break down fiber properly. It actually moves through our digestive tract largely undigested, and our gut bacteria break it down. When our gut bacteria break down fiber, they convert the fiber into things like short chain fatty acids, which we then can digest for energy. Lucky last, alcohol. So when I'm talking about alcohol, I don't mean cider or beer or wine. I'm talking about the ethanol within those products. This is poison. Your body will prioritize breaking down alcohol before it prioritizes breaking down nutrients. So if you have a big meal with a few standard drinks, say on a Saturday night, you're out and about, your body first will break down the alcohol and clear that from your liver before it breaks down your food. Often our bodies can just shunt the food into storage instead to prioritize the breakdown of alcohol. I do recommend limiting your alcohol intake for general health, as well as if you're trying to follow a healthier diet, because it displaces other nutrients that you could be eating. One standard drink has 10 grams of ethanol. Because alcohol has 7 calories per 1 gram, 10 grams is 70 calories. Whatever your standard drinks are that you're having, you'll have a minimum of 70 calories plus whatever else is in that. For example, you may have a shot of vodka that will have 10 grams of ethanol in the 30 mils. That's 70 calories. Add a mixer on top of that. Let's say you have a lemonade that will have calories from the sugar and the carbohydrate content in that. So you're not just having the 70 calories, you're also having whatever's in the mixer too. I've got a bit of a summary here for you in regards to macronutrients, the calories per gram, and also in calorie density. Things that are higher in water will be lower in calories. When I say higher in water, I'm thinking of things like fruit, like vegetables, like protein sources. And I've got a demonstration here. 100 grams of chicken breast is not 100 grams of protein. This is really important to keep in mind. 100 grams of chicken breast actually contains 22 grams of protein, 75 grams of water, and 2 grams of fat. 22 grams of protein times 4 is 88 calories from protein. 2 grams of fat is 18 calories. So when we add the calories together, that gives us a total of 105 calories. Let's contrast that with almonds, for example, because I know people like to say nuts are high in protein, but they're not really. 20 grams of protein per 100 grams. There's not much water in there though. And so the macronutrients for the weight have to be made up elsewhere. We're looking at 51 grams of fat. Adding all this up together and doing the maths gives us 570 calories to get 20 grams of protein versus chicken breast, which takes 100 calories to get 20 grams of protein. I'm just outlining this now so that you can be aware when it does come to foods, not all foods or sources of protein, fats, and carbohydrates are created equally. And it's important to take into account everything else in the food, not just the one nutrient. This goes hand in hand with label reading. As I mentioned before, calories are the sum of the macronutrients in that food. Always look per the one serve if you're eating one serve of the food, or look per 100 grams if you're comparing two products because you're not sure which one is healthier. But if you're trying to work out what you've eaten, look at the serving size of the food that you've eaten. I've got a demonstration here with a Chobani flip. Looking at the label here that I've taken from the Chobani, we can see how everything's broken down and calculated. You'd be eating one serving because it's a single serve. It's not a big tub. Protein, we're going to round it up to make it easier. We'll say there's 11 grams in there. That's 44 calories. Looking at the fat, it's about 5 grams, so about 45 calories. Carbohydrate, 23 grams, about 90 calories. Adding this all up together gives us 183 calories. Hopefully that helps you understand how macronutrients and calories are interrelated, because they're not separate things. You will never have a label that's really high in macronutrients that's really low in calories. The calories is simply a summary of the macronutrient content of that food product. I recommend to get very familiar with what's in your food so that when you're low in protein for the day, you know then that you just have to have a bigger portion of meat at dinner time. Or if you're low in fat, you know then to add some oil at dinner time. You can do this through the apps on your phone with your tracking. So that's MyFitnessPal or Easy Diet Diary. The most accurate data though is on this website here. This is Food Standards. This is the database that Easy Diet Diary actually takes its information from. And that's why Easy Diet Diary is more accurate than MyFitnessPal. So if you're ever not sure, and there's say 3 options for chicken breast and they're all telling you different things, you can jump online and cross-check it against this database. So the link's here for you. You just have to put in how many grams you've had, and then it will give you all the data here. As always, please reach out if you need some more help with any of this. I'm here to help.